Hello, everyone. We are doing a passage taken from CAT 2017. Before before you watch the explanation, I want you to go through the passage and try to solve the question. If it is not entirely visible, you can in fact take the screenshot of this particular video, particular passage, and then you can enlarge it and watch it as per your convenience. Now, I assume here that you have attempted the passage and the questions on your own. Now, let me start the explanation. Now, this passage has one question. The first question itself is the central idea of the passage. Is that? So, the question is asking the central idea, the main theme, the main idea, the focus of the passage. And always remember the focus of the text, the focus of the passage or the text is always correlated with the structure. So we need to identify the structure of this passage. Now, structurally, the most important paragraph of this passage is this third passage, passage number 3. Because this passage begins with a very important hint word, and that is but. But, however, even then, nevertheless, still, nonetheless, on the other hand, or even on the contrary, these are important phrases or words when it comes to identifying the focus of the passage. So here, you know that the passage is about closing of malls. Malls are getting closed. The first paragraph gives that fact. The second paragraph also says how there are job losses because of the closure of malls. After mentioning the economic loss, job loss, unemployment that has been caused by the closure of malls, after mentioning this economic loss in the second paragraph, there is a word but. Now, always remember, but changes the focus. The focus shifts. Now, here, the focus shifts from economic loss to loss of social life, because at the beginning, after the word but, what is written? Those are workplaces, not gathering places. Gathering places. The mall is both. So the mall is both suggests that for the mall, the economic loss is not just important. The loss of gathering place, the loss of social life is also important. So and if you look at this third paragraph, the whole third paragraph talks about the loss of social life. In fact, in the fourth paragraph, he takes you back to your childhood, and he reminds you of this social life that you had when you were child, how the social life was really enhancing when there was the flourishing of malls. Even if you look at the end of this particular paragraph, right? It is written here. There is a quote of Harvard business professor, and that quote says, "Malls were built for patterns of social interaction that increasingly don't exist." So, from this third paragraph, the focus shifts from economic loss to loss of social life because of the closure of malls. Therefore, the answer of this question is clearly the C option, because it is C option that says malls used to perform a social function that has been lost. The first option says the closure of malls has affected the economic and social life of middle class America. First of all, you should understand here the focus of the paragraph is not on economic loss. The focus is on loss of social life. Plus, it is nowhere written that the paragraph is concerned about the loss of social life of middle class only. So it becomes too specific, and the paragraph is not that specific. Plus, option A says the closure of malls has affected the economic and social life. But now that has affected is a neutral word. Okay, it's a neutral word. It does not give the sense of negative effect of closure of malls on economic and social life. And remember the tone. So let me write here, the tone of the passage is equally important. So you need to pay attention to the tone of the passage and tone of the option. And the tone of the passage is negative. It is written at the end as well, that social interaction that increasingly don't exist. So the tone, when the tone of the passage is negative, don't choose the option that is either neutral or positive. So option A is eliminated. So remember this elimination technique. Change in the tone is a very important elimination technique that we can use in order to eliminate options. The other options B and D can be easily eliminated. The B option says the advantages of malls outweigh their disadvantages. So again, the tone changes. Advantages is positive, but the author's tone is negative. The last option D, malls are closing down because people have found alternative ways to shop. Now this is a little bit true, but that is not the focus. Why the malls are closing is not the focus. What is the effect of the closure of malls on social life of people? That is what is discussed. Effect is discussed. Effect is the focus, not the cause. So option D is eliminated. C is the answer. Now let us look at question number 2. Now question number 2 and question number 3 are very specific question, and sometimes if the question is specific, the whole sentence is given in the question itself. In such cases, in fact, you don't have to go back to the passage to identify the sentence. If the sentence by itself is self explanatory, and that is what is the magic here. If you look at question number 2, why does the author say in paragraph 2? And then the entire sentence is given. And even if you concentrate on this entire sentence very, very closely, you don't have to go back to the passage and find out where the answer is given. So remember, when there is a specific question, okay, based on the specific part of the passage, and if the question, mentions the entire specific part, the entire sentence, and if that sentence is self-explanatory, then you should try to solve the question based on that sentence given in the question itself. Now, what is this sentence? The massive distribution centers Amazon has opened across the country, often not too far from malls the company helped shutter. Right. So the company became the cause of the closure of malls. So, and you know that the paragraph mentions that company is Amazon. So Amazon, actually the rise of Amazon, because of which the distribution centers, the malls closed. Okay, that's a fact. But the author says that the distance between the malls and the company is hardly any, right? So this is something which author brings out. So here, there is a plain fact that Amazon company made the malls close. That's a plain fact. But the author does not simply give this plain fact. The author says the distance between them is hardly any, right? So this is very, very important. So this is something, what? This is called contradiction, because usually that doesn't happen, right? So two companies next to each other, and the rise of one company immediately becomes the cause of the fall of the other company, and they are next to each other. That usually doesn't happen. So the author is, referring to this contradiction, and this contradiction is opposite to what you are expecting. So normally you expect that if one company has become the cause of the closure of the another company, then there is some distance, they are not close. But the fact here is that they are close to each other, and this fact is opposite to what you are expecting, and it is called irony. Many times people don't have the exact idea of the irony. Now, what is irony? Irony is the contradiction between what you are expecting and what the actual fact is, or what the fact is, what the reality is. So the contradiction between the expectation and the fact, or the fact and the expectation are opposite to each other, contradictory to each other, then the irony arises. So the answer of question number 2 is option A, right? So here you have to concentrate on this particular sentence, and that is more than enough to solve the question. Now, other options, option B, to indicate that malls and distribution centers are located in the same area, right? That is true. That is true, but that is not what is exactly the author is trying to indicate. They are in fact close to each other is already given. So B option is mere repetition of what is given. Now remember, such questions are asked to find out the implied meaning. not to find out the straightforward conclusion or straightforward repetition based on the paragraph. So don't choose such options which are mere repeating what is given in the sentence or the paragraph. C option, to show that Amazon is helping certain brands go online. It is irrelevant. C option is irrelevant. It is not talking about closure of malls. D, to indicate that shopping habits of the American middle class have changed. Again, this is totally irrelevant. It is not even. It is not discussing even the the closure of malls or the closure of massive distribution center at all. So other options are clearly eliminated. The answer of question number 2 is option A. Now let's look at question number 3. Now question number 3, even for question number 3, I would like to repeat that when the entire sentence is given in the question itself, then you don't have to really worry about the passage. Now here, the sentence given in the question is real estate developers once, and this word once is the key word that in fact helps you to solve the question. Real estate developers once stumbled over themselves to court. Now here, to court, here court is not about judiciary, right? So court is to convince or persuade or to go behind someone, to have a close relationship with someone, so but even that court word is not important. What is important is this word once. So real estate developers once stumbled over themselves to quote the malls, right? In fact, this particular phrase is given in the first sentence itself, right? If you want, if you want, you can read that sentence. But even if you read that sentence 100 times and you miss this word once, you will not be able to solve the question. And if you focus on this word once, still you can solve the question even without reading the first part or the first paragraph. So sometimes, remember, you need to pick up some important keywords from the sentences. So real estate developers once stumbled, which means that they don't do it now. When you say that I once used to go to gym, which means that I don't go to gym. So real estate developers once stumbled over themselves, which means they don't do it now. And that is what is clearly given in the option B. Option B says they no longer pursue brand name anchor outlets. The word pursue is given, which is similar to the word quote used here, right? So they no longer pursue brand name anchor outlets. They don't do it now because they used to do it once. So the answer of question number 3 is clearly option B. Other options, to brand name anchor outlets to court. So here the judiciary meaning of court is taken, which is incorrect. So option A is eliminated. C, collaborated with one another to get brand name anchor outlets. There is no discussion of collaboration at all. C is eliminated. They were eager to get brand name anchor outlets to set up shopping mall. Now this is also completely wrong. There is no intention of setting up mall from the real estate developers. The word once, helps you solve this question very clearly. So the answer of question number 3 is option B.